For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Shannon Derehove. Themba Mdladlose, CSI Manager of law firm Wentzel, speaks to us about Wentzel's corporate social investment programs. Wentzel recently sponsored 2 children to attend a Moot court event in Amsterdam. Please tell us about this corporate social investment initiative.
Wentzel's approach to social responsibility in South Africa is actually ensuring that we encourage the economic participation of individuals and communities, look at the safeguarding of the rule of law, as well as access to justice to people who may not actually have the means to represent themselves in court. So this competition actually talks to the values that we hold dear as a firm, specifically safeguarding the rule of law, as it talks to the Constitution. It teaches learners that the Constitution is a living document, and what are the things that can be done to ensure that we safeguard what we have and it doesn't just become a piece of paper which is worthless.
What do you hope an initiative like this will achieve in South Africa? Why do you think it's necessary?
Firstly, debating and being part of a moot teaches one to actually improve their research skills, improve their writing skills, as well as oral advocacy. So what this competition does actually is not only aimed at those learners that would want to pursue a career in law. You need those skills. You need debating skills in any field. You need, because it's not only about debating, but it's also about presenting as well, and research, as I've said before. So it helps learners actually improve on those skills. So generally, we see it as a very good way of contributing to the education of our learners.
How can this sort of initiative encourage and promote interest in the field of law?
The answer is twofold. If you look at the early 2000s, the world was moving towards the digital age, and you had every single student looking at maths and science and technology. And they didn't see the field of law as one of those, I would say, sexy or attractive fields that one would actually want to pursue. So everybody did something or the other in IT, or something that had to do with maths and science. But now, with South Africa being a new democracy, we've realized over the years that there are many things that are happening within our society that have to do with the Constitution. For instance, the argument that was given to these learners for the 2013 competition, it was an argument that would require one to do research, because it talks about a pregnant pupil that was expelled by the school governing body. So they had to do research and look at the constitutionality of the whole decision that the SGB came to decide whether it made sense, whether it is in the interest of the child to actually do that. So this actually looks at education, and it looks at the Constitution and the safeguarding of the rule of law within the country. And if we do this at a very early age, we're hoping that learners will actually understand the role that we have to play as the legal fraternity to ensure that there is access to justice, and there is actually representation for those that may not have a voice or may not have the financial muscle to represent themselves. So we're hoping that with the participation of these schools in such competitions, it will bring back that prestige of what it is to be a lawyer. How can you give back to your community? Because it is giving back. If you look at the work that we do also in the pro bono space, it is giving back to communities while ensuring that there is access to justice for all.
What other initiatives is Wentzel advocating, and why?
We have 3 pillars to our CSI strategy, and these are key elements of how we do business in South Africa. Because we understand that being a responsible and contributing corporate citizen, we have to do certain things to ensure that we are relevant. We address issues that are relevant to the country. We've identified 3 areas, which is education, that talks to basically the school's moot. We have access to justice, which is the work that we do within the pro bono space. And we have economic development, which looks at socio-economic development as well as enterprise development. There are 2 projects that resonate with us as a law firm. The first one is the partnership that we have with Cape Mental Health. Cape Mental Health have a program called the Sexual Abuse Victim Empowerment Program. So this is a program where they actually give support to victims of sexual abuse who may have mental issues. How this program works is that Cape Mental Health would actually give them support, assess the cases to ensure that they can be taken to court and perpetrators prosecuted. Over and above that, they give support to families of those victims as well, because in most cases such victims would come from either township or rural communities who may not have the know-how when it comes to the law and what it is that you need to do to take cases to court. So they give them that support. Over and above that, they train court officials as well as the SAPS on how to question such victims and what it is that they need to be looking out for in terms of gathering the evidence, as well as court officials on how to prosecute these cases. We support this initiative to ensure that it gets rolled out in more rural communities. Currently, it's only in the Western Cape, and we're rolling this out to other rural communities of the Western Cape. The second one is the work that we do with the Endangered Wildlife Trust. One of their core mandates is to train customs officials on the international trade law compliance and enforcement. We've realized that the illegal trade in our wildlife specimens has a detrimental effect to our biodiversity. And as a firm, although environmental sustainability is not one of those core areas that we look at, we understand that we have to do our bit and actually ensure that in the area of environmental sustainability, we have a presence. And we looked at the Millennium Development Goals, specifically 7B, which talks to the reduction of loss of biodiversity. And we felt that this is something that, as a firm, we can get involved in. So we fund the training of border officials, biomarine officials, etc., to ensure that they are in a position to understand regulations that govern the movement of our wildlife specimens. They can also identify the components and derivatives of these wildlife specimens, and are in a position to work closely with other agencies that would police this area to ensure that we safeguard the loss of such precious wildlife. We know that most people currently we have an issue with poaching of rhinos, and they're mainly poached for their horns. To me and you, it might be something that's very simple. You would be in a position to can identify a rhino horn, but what if it has been cut to little pieces? We're not going to be in a position to can identify that. So they are trained to also identify such things and ensure that the perpetrators don't go unpunished. And this talks to also access to justice and the rule of law.
How can learners take part in this initiative?
This is a competition that's open to all South African schools, specifically grade 11s. Now, for them to participate in the competition, the first stage is to write an essay. So there is a topic that gets given, which has to do with the Constitution. So they have to write an essay and argue for and against that topic. To be able to look at the other side as well, not look at your own side in an argument, but understand what the opposition might throw at you. So that's what they do. They have to write an essay to participate in this. Then you have the regional oral rounds. And after the regional oral rounds, obviously the winners then would go to the national rounds. So what we did as a firm last year, we partnered with the Gauteng Education Department, the Johannesburg East region, to give workshops to their schools that had made it to the regional rounds, as well as the national rounds. So they came through on Saturdays. We gave them tips on how to conduct yourself in court, and also to teach them that what they see on TV, in American TV basically, does not apply to South African law. It's not how we do things in South Africa. So they get trained on such things, and how to address the court, how to address the judge, etc. And the respect that you should have for your counterpart. It's not similar to what the US does, when you can stand up at any time and object and so forth. So they get trained on all of that. That's what we did. And the schools that we supported, 4 of them made it to the national finals, and 3 of them came out in the top 10. And amongst those was Immaculata Girls High School from the Western Cape. And this is the school where we actually chose the 2 learners to go represent South Africa, to be part of the South African team that participated in the competition at The Hague.
Thank you. That was Wentzel CSI Manager Themba Mdladlose discussing the corporate social investment programs.